All right, so this is one of the videos for Train the Trainer on getting the plus out of zipForm Plus. This video is going to go over the toolbars at the top of the main screen of your templates section. So we're in the templates right now. Templates should be highlighted in green at the very top of the screen. We're going to go through the toolbar here at the top under templates, as well as your filters and settings options here on the right hand side. Okay, so the first option that we see in our toolbar is going to be the new option. Now this is where in class you want to tell people, hey, for this part of class, let's just watch and take some notes, but let's not click on anything just yet. I'll let you know when it's appropriate to start clicking. So new is where you're going to go to start a new template. We will be going into that in just a little bit, but let's cover the rest of the buttons in the screen first. So the import and export. Before class starts, at the very beginning when you're doing your own intro, that's when I like to get an idea of who's in my class. So I think a good exercise to do would be to have the class introduce themselves, and you have to be very specific about what you want them to tell about themselves, or they will soapbox for 15 minutes. So just say, hey, let's go around the room. I want everyone to introduce themselves. Just give us your name and how long you've been in the business and what's your role in your company. So I want to know if you are a broker, if you're a broker associate, if you're an agent, or maybe you work in an office management capacity and you'd be onboarding agents into your office. So are you an agent, broker, broker associate, office manager? That's all we really need to know at that time, okay? But that's going to be helpful when we get into talking about importing and exporting. So with importing and exporting, I do like to explain that there's a broker level edition of zipForm Plus that a broker can buy into. It is something that they have to pay for, but if they really utilize the tools that are provided to them through that broker edition, they could eliminate some of the other document management systems that they're utilizing and paying for. So it might definitely be worth it. They need to call ZipLogic and talk to one of their sales associates to find out more. So if the broker pays for the broker level edition, when the broker or an authorized individual in the office creates a new template, they would be able to share those templates with the members of their office. If the broker does not have broker level edition, then an agent or designated person in the office could create the templates and then export those templates to a new agent. And in the onboarding process, they are going to show that agent how to import those templates, okay? With the exporting and importing, if the person who's exporting the templates completes the forms within that template before exporting, that information will be saved so that the person importing would see all of that data and be able to use all of that data in their templates. They will be able to edit, of course, but that's fine. They might need to make a few little tweaks, but for the most part, they're going to have all of that data in their templates already, which would mean their office information would be completed, and you could complete the documents as much as you'd like. So I could complete the listing agreement, buyer rep agreement, contracts, etc., just with standard information that my brokerage likes to use, okay? So we will show a quick example of the export and import, but explaining why they would use this feature is of utmost importance. So when I click on the option to export, the system allows me to select individual templates that I'm exporting, or I can do a select all at the top right. Go ahead and click the export option so they can see in class how this works. When you go to export, the system is going to ask if you want to keep the content. This, if you notice, if you really read this, it's talking about the transaction content, but leave these checked. We want the content and the templates to remain, of course. So I'm going to click export. Okay, and you can see right here the system has exported that file into a zip file. And this is going to be in my downloads, but that zip file, what's really important is do not unzip the zip file. You will send that file to the agent that you're onboarding as a zip file, explain in the email that they need to download it to their computer and keep it as a zip file. All right, so that's the export. On the import, I'm going to go ahead and click import. Of course, all you're doing here is you're going to browse your files. And here in the downloads, there's the zip file that I just exported. I'm going to click open. The system will recognize that file, and I would click OK, and it would go ahead and import all of those files. You don't need to do this during class. You just show the steps and tell people watch and take notes. I'm going to cancel, and we will keep going. All right, so stop and ask. Any questions about importing and exporting? Probably not. We'll move on. Deleting. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to delete. Click delete, and I can select individual or all if I want to clean up my system, delete everything, and click delete at the top right. I don't really want to delete, just wanted to show you. Now, each individual template has an action menu at the top right-hand side of the display. Some of these little action menus will look different than others. Sometimes people have 3 little dots here instead of the down arrow like I have. They all perform the same actions. Once you open that action menu, you can delete one individual template from here. All right, and then the last option on this toolbar is going to be my clause manager. So here's the clause manager, and the clause manager is actually a really great feature to use, and it's typically not used by agents right away. It takes them a little while to get proficient at the system and realize, oh, hey, I can use my clause manager, and it will make me more efficient in my use. So what is a clause manager? The clause manager is where I can develop a list of statements that can be inserted into a section of a document. Okay, so it's a list of statements, and I can select a statement to be inserted into a section of a document. What I use as an example is going to be the easy out clauses, and this would be a buyer's easy out or a seller's easy out on a listing agreement or a buyer's rep agreement. And it's just a statement that states that either party, meaning myself as the agent or you as the client, can exit this agreement if there's a breach of trust, and we just need it in writing, and you can exit this agreement, okay? Which means I can exit the agreement as well. Now, with the clauses, I like people, they can click through. I'll tell them, you can do hands-on right now if you'd like to. However, any statements that you're going to insert into a document should be pre-approved by your broker. So I do want people to get these pre-approved and not just use the statements that I'm inserting. So what I've done is in the class creation section or booklet creation section of my class in our Dropbox, I've added single family residential templates and zipForm clauses here for you to use for class purposes. So I did save these in the booklet creation section because I'm hoping that these will be added to the booklet with some disclaimers that they need approval by brokers first, okay? So you can open that up, and I would say go ahead and have both of those documents open at the beginning of class. Have those opened up, ready to use. And I said that and I didn't do it. So let me go ahead and open that up. Here we are, booklet creation and clauses. So I'm going to go ahead and open those clauses so we can talk about it in class. All right, so back to the clauses. This is where I'm going to go in to create a clause. We'll have some clauses already created for the instructors in their zipForm system. And when you open the clause manager, the first screen that it opens to is your library of clauses. So if the broker at the office has broker edition, they can create clauses and share them with their office, and that's what you would see here in your library as what's been shared with you. If nothing's been shared with you, that's okay. We're going to hop over here on the right-hand side to our personal clauses and talk about creating a clause. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work left to right, and we're going to go ahead and talk about the filters. I'm going to click on filters, and with the filters, this filter allows you to filter by category, okay? When you start creating clauses, you're going to identify categories, okay? Agents typically don't have more than a couple of different categories here. My categories would be by property type. So I'll show you adding in a commercial category, but some people might want to categorize by buyers or sellers. Everybody's going to work a little bit differently here, okay? But the categories are something the user creates. The search option allows people to search by a title name. And then in the sorting, I can sort either by the titles or the categories. All right, we're going to click new in just a second, but let's skip over to delete. Delete allows you to delete individual clauses or multiple clauses at one time. Importing and exporting would be used very similar to how I explained before. If the broker does not have broker edition, then they could actually create their own clauses, export those, and share them with individuals in their office as they onboard, help those agents import those clauses into their system. All right, so let's go ahead and create a new clause. I'm going to click New Clause at the top of the screen. And this is where we would identify our category. So I'm going to create a new category. I'm going to create commercial. Okay. If you have that category already created, in the down arrow, the drop down menu here, you would just choose from your pick list. Now I'm going to create a clause title. So my clause title, if I'm doing an easy out clause, I would identify as it a seller's easy out or buyer's easy out. And I like to be very specific, because if I'm going to reference the section or paragraph, if I'm going to reference a specific paragraph in that listing agreement or buyer's rep agreement, then I'm going to say, is this paragraph 11B or whatever, okay? So that's something I might reference in the actual statement that I'm using to insert. So the clause is going to be, let's do a seller easy out. And then the text, this is where you can show them an example of inserting text. And for class purposes, I'm going to make this extremely generic. In fact, I'm going to type in type text here after it is approved by the broker. All right, and save. So now that would be a clause or a statement saved in my system that I can insert into a document very quickly and easily. Okay, we'll be showing some of those other features in the documents, the form features, later on in class. So I now have a clause that I can insert when we're showing that during class. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close that window. Of course, ask if anybody has questions before closing this window. Any questions about the clauses? If not, close the window. Okay. Let's go through the filtering and setting options next. And the first filter is going to be where I can filter by the status of the templates, the template type, or the property type. Of course, under status, if the broker has broker level edition, the individual looking at this might have some office templates here. So they can say, I want to view office templates only. Then you have the templates types. This is what side are you representing? Listing, purchase, lease tenant, lease listing. And then of course you have your property types. So if I narrow this down to only my listing side templates and apply, then it's going to narrow down my system to only showing those listing side templates. I can save filters as a default. So right here where it says save filters, that would allow me to make that a default in my system. I don't want to make it a default. I'm going to unselect that and go ahead and click apply, and all of my templates will come back. Now, one thing that I want to show you real quick, because this is going to come up during class. Right now, I do not have my screen set, or my browser window at 100%. Okay. When I go into the settings right here of my browser, notice that I'm at 90%, and I'll show you why. I'm going to bump it up to 100. Okay. Now when I go to the filter, right here, filter, my button is cut off. Okay. Notice how I can't access or fully see my apply button. Okay. This you will see most commonly on a Mac. And it's just because the zoom on that window is too large for my actual screen. So if somebody says, I can't see my button, it's cut off, that's when you want to direct them to their browser settings, and you can minimize your zoom. So I'm going to bump it down to 90%. Now I can see my apply. All right. Next is my option to search. That's going to allow me to search by a template title. And then I have sorting options here. Okay. And then I have some settings options. I don't really use the filters, the search, and the sorting options much in templates because I've never had more than 10 active templates at one time. Okay. So there's so few that I've never really needed to use those options. However, we're going to show that again in the transactions, and people are going to love that. When they start using those filters, they're going to love it. Settings options on the top right hand side. The first settings options allows me to add a grouping option to where my filters are located. So when I click group by template type, notice here it adds my grouping options. Okay. So I can say I want to see my purchase templates only, my listing templates only, and all. Okay. The settings option would then allow you to remove the grouping if you want to. Okay. At the top right, my next option is to change my display. Right now I'm looking at the grid display. I call it a tile display. These look like little tiles on the screen. Okay. I can change it to a list display or back to the grid. All right. Okay, so that is the first video in the series on getting the plus out of zipForm Plus. Hope that was helpful.